Welcome to an episode of More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I guess I'm Brian.
And that is Brian from Midknight Heroes. Welcome to episode 250 of More Than Dice. Today we're going to be hanging out with Brian from Midknight Heroes. He's going to be talking about all the projects he's going through, everything he's doing, and the new Kickstarter he's got coming up. But before we do that, we got to do the business. We want to thank Parabellum Wargames for all the cool stuff that they do and all the miniatures they have. And don't forget, they have a special code you can use if you want to pick up their stuff, and you can hang out with them. Of course, the code is More Than Dice. Big surprise. We want to also thank Turbo Dork for the amazing paint line that they have with the color shifting and metallics. Make sure you check them out. We also want to thank Midknight Heroes. They're a sponsor also. And you can find them and check out all the cool chibis and some of the new stuff that's coming out pretty soon too. We want to thank Muse on Minis. If you need some widgets or some tokens or anything for any of your games, make sure you check them out. It has a discount code also. John, what is that discount code?
Probably More Than Dice.
All one word. Yes, it is. Guys, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching and all the stuff that goes on with us. If you are going to be at Adepticon, I will be there. So make sure you come and find me and say hi. I might have a gift or two for you if you tell me and show me that you're subbed to one of our channels. But you'll have to wait and see what it is.
Yeah, and if you see me there, realize I probably quit and or lost my job, and give me condolences before you give me a high five.
So,
oh, gosh.
Other than that, I know there's going to be quite a few of us going to be at Adepticon to hang out and play some games. I will be playing BattleTech, buying a ton of crap, and War Machine. That's about it. I'm not taking any classes this year. So, other than that, let's give our good shout-outs. We do have a shout-out to Tom Sizemore. I believe he had a stroke or a heart attack.
He had a stroke. They put him in a coma. They didn't think he was going to recover, and then he passed this week, which is very unfortunate.
Very, very good actor. Had some really good spots.
Enjoyable in everything he's in, even if it's not like the best movie. Was it a month or two ago I watched that goddamn New Year's Eve movie. The name escapes me. He was in that with a terrible wig, but he still did a great job and was very enjoyable in it. God, what's that movie called? It's going to bug me now.
Well, you know where to go to find it.
I do. I was going to the end of a... But yeah, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down. He's been in a ton of things.
Yeah. But I think that was the only shout out that we had. If anybody has any shout outs they'd like to give, make sure you put it in the chat. We'll give a shout out to them. We have no problem with that. We also want to go, of course, again, thank all of our viewers, listeners, etc., that listen to us on all the platforms. And don't forget that you have also the other podcasts that are on our network. You have the Tried and True guys, which are Delaware War Machine players. And then you also have the Boker Brawl groups that does a lot of cool things. I don't know what's wrong with your video, John.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. What did you do to my video?
Nothing. Pixelating.
Wow.
You're being hacked. Hack the planet!
That's
the planet!
No, not the planet, not John. Don't hack John. Guarantee if I see serial killer come out here, I'm punching him in the jaw. And hoping Shaggy doesn't manifest to kill me. Is John's video drunk too? John's not drunk, so his video damn well not better be drunk before me.
So,
wow, that is weird.
Yeah, it's got to be a camera issue. It's playing with your.
Hold on.
But before we, while John's working on his camera issue, which is okay, we can still hear him. He can still talk. Guys, we really appreciate you. We really, really. We really appreciate everything you do, everything you say. Make sure you check out our Patreon. Make sure you check out our Facebook page, our YouTube, so on and so forth, because we have a ton of stuff that goes on there. Please take care of yourself. Watch after yourself. If you see something, say something. Watch out for each other. If you see me, you're more than welcome to give me a hug. Hang out. Definitely, if you see me at Adepticon, let me know, and I will definitely give you an awesome hug and a high five, or whatever you prefer as your greeting of the times.
You do give good high fives. You gave me so it's all good.
Oh yeah, I give good high fives. John, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay. While John's fixing his camera, let's go and talk about our drink of the day. And John's back. John, what are you drinking today?
Well, I'm going to try a shot of this whiskey I bought online, which is Starward Twofold Double Grain Australian Whiskey. On a day I was having a shitty night, which is most of this week, they advertised it on YouTube on Facebook with a free code for shipping. And I'm like, I'll take a look and see how expensive it is. It was $35 for a bottle. That is not expensive at all.
Nope.
For a bottle of whiskey with free shipping. Figure I'd give it a shot since I found out recently that I can actually get alcohol delivered to Maryland. I thought it was illegal. Apparently that was years ago. So I'm going to try another shot of that. I'll give you guys a description of that. And then I'm going to follow it up with a mix of Cruzan Black Cherry Rum with Cherry Coke because, I got standards.
It's precisely measured, right?
Yes. You heathen. I measure my fucking mixed drinks.
Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking the lovely Ozarka. Yeah.
Some good old H2O.
Exactly. That's my drink of choice right now.
Yes, Arathu, I have not tried gotten a Bramble yet. That is an unfinished quest. But look, I bought this Monday night on the way home, and I didn't drink on Wednesday or Thursday or much last night. So this is how my week was.
Oh, wow.
Plus 2/3 that bottle of rum that I also bought on Monday is gone. And I also bought a 6-pack of Smirnoff Ices too. And they're all gone. So I feel like I'm doing okay.
Must have been a hard week.
Yeah, it was not good. It ended better than it started, which I like. But it's all good. I mean, at this point, like I said, man, we roll with the punches.
My drink of choice tonight is going to be some good old Maker's Mark. Just neat in the cup. Guys, like we said, make sure you check on each other. Make sure if you haven't heard from a friend, just say hi. Make sure they're doing okay. Just check in on them. You don't know what demons people are fighting, and sometimes all it takes is that little, hey, what's up, dude? And it changes their day and their week. Cheers.
Cheers.
God damn, this is good.
This is actually solid. Like, I'm not a sommelier. I'm not going to give you big flavor notes, but it doesn't linger too long. It does not super harsh alcohol-y flavor. Wow, don't do that ever again, Gonzo. That was creepy as fuck. But no, I mean, for a $35 bottle of whiskeys, it's pretty good. I enjoy it.
Let me go with my Maker's Mark again,
I imagine your Maker Mark is probably a little better, but it also probably is a little more expensive.
I think that was about the same.
Well, plus, I'm interested in trying out different stuff. It's wheaten and malted barley whiskey from Australia. Give it a shot. It's from Australia, but it ships from New Jersey.
Yeah, if I could have alcohol delivered to my house, I would, but Arkansas does not allow that. It's illegal.
So, I'm allowed to have it shipped to my house, but not delivered to my house. If you understand the subtle difference.
I can't have either.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, type thing. So Brian, we want to welcome you to the podcast. You've been a longtime sponsor.
Yes, sir.
You've been doing a lot of cool stuff. I don't remember how I met you, but I know that you came to Warfare Weekend, and I've known you about doing miniature printing and all this other stuff, and I've asked you questions, and we've bounced ideas and everything else, and I don't know why you sponsor us. We're weird, and we're definitely not professionals.
That's why we sponsor you.
Gonzo, as a matter of point, since I am a manager and I am pedantic by nature, we are technically professionals. We do make money. It's not a lot of money. But we can technically say we are professionals.
It pays the bill so we don't die. Or the channel doesn't go under. Or we have to pay it out of our own pocket.
It pays the bills so that I can support other people on Twitch and Patreon.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
I'm like, oh, cool, I can support more people.
It works.
So, Brian, you have a miniature company, and it is, of course, Midnight Heroes. Why don't you tell us how you got started from? Because I mean, you didn't just start miniature printing and painting and all that stuff right off the bat. What were you doing first before you started Midnight Heroes?
Before I started Midnight Heroes, I was a semi-professional painter. I had a YouTube channel that I did a lot of painting for 40K, and I actually started doing painting videos and semi-professional painting videos for Soda Pop. And before they became Ninja Division, I did because I really fell in love with their game, and so I started painting all their stuff up online and trying to help build, a following. And I was known at the time for all the stuff that I did for 40K because back before mini wargaming painting, blue table painting, and all that stuff, I was one of the at the time I was one of the bigger 40K channels on YouTube, and my channel was Nataku. I went by Nataku on there. Everything was going good. I had a couple kids. I couldn't afford it anymore, so I kind of, stepped back. And then all of a sudden, um, I had my first of 5 heart attacks, and I died. I died, but they were able to bring me back. And so when I came back, I had to reevaluate things. So I continued doing more painting. And one day, my son just walked up to me. At the time, he was very young. He was maybe 7, 8 years old at the time. He walks up and he goes, "Dad, I see you painting all these miniatures, but why don't you just make your own?" And I was like, "Damn,
Why don't
kids,
I?
kids onto something." And he's 8 years old, and he goes, "Dad, I love you, but we don't know how long you're gonna be here. So just and you're an artist, so why don't you just make your own? You paint everybody else's, paint your own." And I was like, "Shit, the wisdom from an 8-year-old."
Yep.
So, so I started, designing, doing designs. And at first I started doing just a normal line, and it was more of a fantasy inspired sci-fi world. And I started drawing up sketches and all sorts of stuff. And we ran a Kickstarter for it. It failed. It failed gloriously. It was an epic fail. But in that Kickstarter, we had 2 chibis, and everybody was raving about the chibis that we had in there. And I like chibis, and I like anime and stuff like that and all that stuff. And I was like, I wonder what would happen if I, made chibi miniatures. So I turned around, redesigned everything, got everything set up, and then about that time, my wife had 2 brain aneurysms, and we thought that she was going to die. And we hadn't released any miniatures at this point in time, but we had been in business for like 2.5 years. We were still trying to figure out what the heck we were doing. So my current sculptor, and he is just amazing, is Eddie Berto. He does Capsule Chibi, and he works with the Ignition Core games and all that other good stuff. He did something that was just amazing. He created a miniature, our very first miniature, which was Elizabeth, and he made it in as an inspiration to my wife because we all thought my wife was going to pass away. Thank God she didn't. She's good. She's good now. But that was the very first miniature we ever made, and people came out of the woodworks to help me get that miniature produced, and it was the only one that we had, and people loved it. So I was like, okay, I think this chibi thing is what we need to do. And so we turned around and we started doing redesigns, and we did Kickstarters, and we wound up doing like 5 of them. And each one got bigger and bigger and bigger than we did. And people just started really, really enjoying the chibi miniatures. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And we still, to this day, we get people come up to us when we're at cons going, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's chibi." And they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's short and cute. That's what it is." And every year when we go to our cons, we get more and more people who, I guess you can say, fall in love with it. But for the longest time, all we had was just miniatures, and all it was just painters painting them, but they didn't really use them very much. So we sat down and we had to decide that we needed to start, making games for them as well, which we are doing that as now. But come full circle, it's me and 2 other guys that run Midnight Heroes. You typically don't see the guys behind. Gonzo, you've met Chad, so
Yep.
he's one of my other business partners. But then I have one other. His name is Billy, who is actually my best friend for God knows how long. He's our books guy. He doesn't really come out and say hi. He just runs the books from the background, and me and Chad pretty much do everything. I'm quote unquote the face, as they say. I run the company, and I do all the art designing. I do all the 3D printing. I pretty much do everything but actually sculpt the damn model, because I don't have, ability to do that. I do all our designing. I do most of the work. I do hire some of the work out to other artists, and then once the characters are done, I ship them off to our sculptor. He takes care of them and he gives them back to us, and then you guys get to see the product, because everything that we make is 3D printed. We
Yep.
don't do casting anymore. All 3D prints, and we have, which was a big move that we decided to do. It was about the third Kickstarter. We'd had some companies spin cast our stuff, which they did a great job. There was nothing wrong with their spin cast. They did a great job. But I just got into 3D printing at that point in time, and I felt like 3D printing was, the future of miniatures, in my opinion. I still do. I still think it is. And so I made a decision. I think it was Super Chibi round 3, or was it Super Chibi round 4, that we did the Kickstarter, but it was all supposed to be spin cast resin. But we made the decision after we funded that we were going to do 3D printed miniatures. We reached out to all of our backers and we said, hey, this is what we want to do. What do you think? And all of them were like, go for it. So we 3D printed that whole Kickstarter, sent it out to them, and then we realized from there, we're like, yeah, this is what we want to do moving forward. And since then, we've been all 3D printing. I was like super worried that if it was going to be the right decision or not, but then when freaking Privateer Press announced what they were doing, it made me feel so much better that I had made this decision years ago, and it kind of validated my decision. And I was like, sweet, okay, I'm going on the right path. Type of thing.
So, wanted to go just a little bit of backtrack. We have had one of your artists on our show, and they always come on and do a chibi episode, which is Yeji.
Okay.
Yeji comes on, and anytime we have to do anything chibi related, Yeji comes on here. So,
She's amazing.
yeah, she always talks about your stuff and everything. And go to the 3D printing. 3D printing has gone leaps and bounds in the last like 5 years. You could have gone like, oh, here it is, it looks kind of cool, to holy crap, how did this come off of? I'm still amazed. I mean, I have a 6K screen printer, and it's an Anycubic, and it does what I want, and it's it's affordable for a home printer, and the resin is a print, and I print stuff off, and I'm like, I still don't get how well this stuff prints. So what printers are you, what is your recommended printers to get for like at home or affordable ones?
I have always been a Anycubic fan. That's what I started our farm with, because I started them off with the photons, and every time Anycubic released a new one, I would always get their new one. I understand, me personally, I've never really had a problem with their machines, but a lot of people have said that they have really bad customer support. I've never had to deal with that, so I don't know. But I've used them forever. And for the longest time, our 3D farm has gotten smaller, but we had over 11 printers in our farm.
Whew.
And most of them were Anycubic Mono X's. We had some Mono X's, some Photons, some Zeros, and then I also had a Peopoly Phantom, I think it was, Peopoly 3. It was big sucker. Which at the time that I bought that, I thought it was going to be super, super small. No, we're not doing this. I thought it was going to be super, super, super great for us, but it turned out to be a giant waste of money, because the printer itself wasn't that great. So we switched all of our production to the Mono X's, and for almost 2 years, those were our workhorses. Well, then all of a sudden, Elegoo does this Kickstarter for the Elegoo Jupiter, and I'm sitting here looking at it, and me and Chad are both looking at it, and we're like, huh, this thing looks awesome, because the build plate's about the size of a laptop screen.
Oh yeah.
We're like, huh, we're looking at this. And we could get roughly, depending on the miniature that we 3D printed, we could get up to 10 or maybe 12 on a build plate. And we had like 5 or 6 of them, so we could still crank them out, but we had to use all of those printers. So we pulled the trigger and we got the special on the Kickstarter, and we got multiple Jupiters. took them a while for them to come in, and then when they came in, I put them in our printer room. And these things are massive. I mean, they weigh about 80 pounds a piece, each one. They're huge. I had to build a custom table, the whole 9 yards, to put them on there. But the quality, like you were saying, the quality is just off the charts. I mean, we went from the Mono X's that you could every now and then you could see just a little bit of lines, but not much, to these Jupiters. You don't see any lines at all, none.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I would get something like a Mono X or a Saturn S. That's what I would get for home use. They're great entry level printers. Well, they're a little bit over entry level, but they're still great printers. The big thing with resin printing is, and if you do FDM, you know this, is your settings. The settings is what makes or break your printer. Settings and particularly in resin supports. I mean, on an FDM, settings is crucial, but everything's pretty much flat.
Yeah.
On resin, you have to angle everything, and you have to turn it, and you have to dial in those settings, and it's different per resin. You can't really have a universal setting. You have to get a resin, play with it. Okay, this is the settings for this one. Use it. We stick with one type of resin, so we've dialed in our settings for that resin. It's expensive, but we feel it works best for us. And then once you get, because in resin printing, basically you get the build plate level, your fab sheet's not ripped. It's all settings at that point in time. You just dial it in, you go. You don't have to worry about heating up your nozzle, your bed, blah, 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 blah. It's just go. Now, the downside for resin printing, and some people consider this a huge downside, is there's two of them. One, it stinks, and two, it's messy as all get out. I mean, it is messy. It gets, no matter how much you clean, no matter what you do, it's going to get nasty. And that's one of the biggest complaints that my wife has, because our printing room, because we run everything out of my house. I'm in my shed right now. This is where we keep all of our inventory, but all the printing and everything that we do is in my house. And I actually converted my walk-in closet into my printing room. All my printers are on one side of the walk-in closet, got all my resins up top and all my filament and all the different tables and everything. And it's in our bedroom. So I had to put in an air purifying system and some vents and some fans in the floor, all of that. And it helped, but it didn't take away all the smell. And my wife, on occasionally, she'll let me know that. She'll be like, "Stinks in here."
So
like, I know.
From I'm not a professional. I do it at home, so I can print stuff off for myself and get things going. The stink is very much a big thing, and I mean, it is toxic. You don't want to eat it, so on and so forth. But
what?
Yeah, don't.
You get the Doctor Strange third eye. Come on.
Resin is toxic?
What?
No, come on.
But I mean, you create some really good stuff, and you create, I mean, I use it for stuff for Warfare Weekend. I have an FDM printer that I use for that, and I have a large build plate because I have a People Phenom L, and that build plate is huge. And so someone was like, "Well, how quickly and how fast can you make stuff on it?" And I go, "Well, I took my Phenom L, and someone says, how many Space Marines can you print at one time?" And because that's a lot of people are, I can print 60 Space Marines in 4.5 hours. And people don't,
And we liked because that's the one we had. We had the Phenom L. We liked it, but it took a long time. It wasn't very quick because it's not a monochrome screen. It's a screen. It's an RGB screen, so it doesn't take. It takes longer than a monochrome.
And you can upgrade them now, which is really good and stuff. But I mean, I only use it for like things that are very big. Right. And I don't do it for anything else but things that are very big. I use my 6K if I want to print multiple things on a build plate that'll fit there. But I mean, it's a good printer and it's solid.
I'll jump in here as only a consumer of 3D printing, and I'm impressed with how the models are getting. There's a while I thought they weren't going to reach, good enough quality, but I bought some, years ago, and God was giving me some. I'm like, these are fine. But I got one this past year that was good enough quality that I painted up, gave it as a gift to my sister, and it's great. like not a lot of not a lot of work to do on it. It was all just about ready to go out of the box. I bought some stuff off Amazon of varying qualities, but even the bad quality with the lines, you can easily fix that with the primer and a little bit of sanding. And the price is fucking great on those things. So I'm really impressed with the
You
guy. I
should
even
see
got
some.
a go ahead.
You should see some of the technology that they're working with right now with 3D printing. That not only is it going to be for the manufacturing side, but they're trying to get it in the consumer side as well. And they're going to be in right now. You're printing on an LCD screen with pixels, and it's going up and down and blah 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 blah. It's MSLA. They're actually working on projection printing, where the vat is in there, and they use a projector and they project the image into the resin, and like you can print something like a helmet, like a Mandalorian helmet, in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'm looking to
insane.
see how that goes. I mean, like I said, I always thought they were solid. I thought they were great for terrain, great for bone add-on parts for like models and all, because I've been using them for that for years. But now the models are getting a good enough quality that, I mean, I don't think they'll ever quite be, or it'll be years where they really hit like that pure, let's say, Games Workshop quality. But man, they're getting really fucking close.
Oh yeah,
They're getting good.
they're getting really good. Um, so with that said, you had given me a bunch of video or a bunch of pictures to show off, and so we're going to talk about some of that stuff that we're going to go on, and of course, you have a new expansion coming out. It'll
Correct.
take a few seconds for it to come out on your side, but you have a new expansion, which is going to be, what is your Kickstarter going to be?
We've always had themes to our Kickstarters, and of course, all of our Kickstarters have been chibi. This is the first time that we're actually going to be doing a Kickstarter that's not chibi. Although the chibi is actually going to be in this Kickstarter, but it's not the primary focus. So we wanted to start. We actually did start a brand new line at ReaperCon in September this year that we called Mana Path. It's our anime-inspired, pure, straight-up fantasy miniatures. We have our own story, we have our own world, and we're working to get that lore out. It's not out there, but like all fantasy, it's super or anime, it's super fantasy sized. Oh gosh, I can't talk. It's got the same tropes that you would have in normal fantasy. You got dwarves, you got wizards, you got rogues, you got all that stuff. But what makes ours a little bit different is we have golems. Now you're all saying, well, so does everybody has golems in fantasies, but not like what we have. Our golems are actually 13-foot tall mechs that have drivers in them. But the drivers are not necessarily, so to say, in them. They're bound by a spell, and the golem takes on personality traits of its driver. So, like for example, one of the ones that's coming in the core set of this Kickstarter is Mithul. He is a knight. Okay, it's because his driver was a knight, so therefore he looks, acts, and feels just like a knight. He protects the weak. He's chivalrous. Blah blah blah, all that good stuff. But he's a 13-foot tall mech, and he walks, talks, has his own personality, the whole 9 yards. So that's where we also have what's called Mana Pass, hence the name, where it's a new type of class, so to speak, or user inside of fantasy, where everybody in our world uses mana to cast spells, to do abilities, you name it. Well, a mana path can feel it, and they can manipulate it. They can draw it out, give it to somebody, or they can draw it out and use it, or they can, in a sense, use their own mana inside and bestow different types of things in the world. And they're very, very powerful, and they are highly sought out to be killed because people are scared of them.
So right now there's a picture of looks like a
fact,
female
our
dwarf.
avatar, Midnight of our land, she's actually a path. Yes, I got little. I
Yeah.
can't see it on my side because there's an avatar. There it is. He goes. That's a female dwarf. Her name is Hannah.
Okay.
And she's got a little bit of a backstory to her. She is just a straight up pure fighter, and she doesn't like being called Hannah. She's very, very brutal. She likes to beat the crap out of stuff, but when somebody calls her Hannah, she doesn't think that that's a warrior's name. So she gets super ticked off when you call her Hannah, and she will fight you like a dwarf. She will fight you if you do. But she was one of the she was the third miniature that we designed for the Manapath line, and we wanted to do something a little bit different with her. We wanted this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. We wanted our female dwarves to be thick. We wanted we wanted to have a sort of sex appeal to them, but we didn't want to take it too far. If that
That's
makes
thick
sense.
with two C's, by the way.
Yeah, thick with two C's.
we wanted it to be very, very pretty, cute, whatever you call it, but also we wanted to have some realistic. And we felt that the dwarves would be a little bit, thicker than a normal human would. So that was the design feature that we put in the dwarf. We haven't got a dwarven male yet, but when we do, he's going to be a short, stubby, stack dude that just,
Next one looks like a werewolf of some sort.
I dare say almost like a knoll, actually.
I don't know.
Oh, this is okay. This is my favorite one. This is Leonide. Alrighty. He was actually the very first miniature that I ever designed for Midknight Heroes. He was in the first Kickstarter that failed. And he was going to be the main miniature that was created. He's from a race that I call the Fa. They are beastmen, but they have different animal traits from different animals across the world. Leonide has more of a bearish type of feel to them, but they are a tribal clan. They live out across all of Mythos, which is the world of Manapath. They live out across all Mythos, and each tribe has different characteristics. He is actually part of the Longhorn tribe. You can see because he's got those horns, but they take different animal characteristics and they throw them in together. They're actually technically a very, very peaceful race, but if you piss them off, they are brutal warriors. They will come at you with a vengeance. And Leonide here, by default, is actually a 55 millimeter miniature. He's big. He's like super, super big. In the world of Manapath, he stands almost as tall as a golem. And he can go toe-to-toe with the golem. He's that butch.
And so the next one, is this our first golem we have?
I have to wait for the picture to show up, but if it's what I think it is, yes, it's Methul. That is the golem that I was telling. Yes, I'm saying it now. That is Methul. That's the first golem. He's actually already been released. He was released in September, but not very many people knew about him, so we're just kind of bringing him into the mix. But that is Methul. He is a knight, as you can tell with the type of pose that he has, but he is our first golem. He is a 55 millimeter scale miniature as well. Story-wise, Methul is what's called a free golem. His knight died in battle, and typically when the driver of a golem dies, the golem ceases to operate because they're bound to the driver. In very rare cases, they don't. They become what's called a free golem, and they keep living on. Well, in Methul's case, he became a free golem when his driver died. He absorbed part of his driver's spirit and took it in and became a free golem, and now he goes around and protects people as a knight.
Next one is a a lady that has a sword, red hair, yellow shirt.
We don't have a figure for her yet. It's still in the in the sculpting phase, but her name is Disona, and she is another Manapath. Although story-wise, she doesn't know that she is a Manapath, but she is a Manapath, and we're currently working on a 24 issue story book, which we're 9 books in. They're not released. 9 books in, and it tells the story of her when she was a young kid. But she eventually grows up, and she becomes kind of a roguish type of character. And again, she becomes a Manapath because one of the common traits of all Manapaths is they have orange hair. And that's the only ones that have orange hair are the Manapaths. So you see somebody, they're like, oh crap, they kind of know, but she has orange hair and she's been hidden. And part of the story is that they find her and they're trying to capture her because Manapaths can do different things, and certain people come to save her. Midnight right there.
Yeah, who is this one?
That is our avatar, Midnight.
Okay.
She gets from our Midnight Heroes. When we created Midnight Heroes, we wanted to have somebody, an avatar type of character for our company. So we came up with the concept of Midnight. And you'll find Midnight character in pretty much all of our ranges. There'll be a version of her in some sort. We're going through doing all different types of stuff. And this is her version for the Mana Path line. There's already one of her out right now, but it's in a completely different pose. We wanted to take that miniature and repose her and make a special one for the Kickstarter, and this is her.
Okay.
Cool.
So your new one, your Kickstarter, when is it going to start?
It starts March 7th, and it will
Okay.
run for 20 days.
All right, and this is a
So
pure,
Tuesday.
yeah, so pure STL. No physical copies, pure STL Kickstarter, correct?
Yes, this is the first time we've ever done anything like this. Back when we did all of our other Kickstarters, when they knew that we started 3D printing them, people asked for our STL files, and at the time we said no, because we didn't really know. We didn't know how to stop people sharing it, stuff like that. And we made a business decision and we said no. Well, the very last one that we had, Midnight Heroes Villains, it succeeded and it went beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. And we got all of the pledges out to everybody, but it took us forever and a day. It was a massive undertaking because there's only 3 of us and I do most of all the work. So it was a massive undertaking. So we stayed away from Kickstarter for a couple of years because we didn't want to get into that hole again, that type of thing. Because while we did deliver everything, it just took us a long time.
Yeah.
So when we came up and decided we wanted to do Mana Path, that was the first thing that was brought to the table. They're like, hey, because like I said, I'm the only one that does all the printing. It's here at my house. They're like, are you going to be able to do all this, Brian? And I'm like, yes and no. It depends on, how it works. Because Midnight Heroes is not my full-time job. I want it to be, but it's not. So it all depends on how my 9 to 5 goes, blah, 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 this and that. So we decided to do something really different. To make this a pure STL Kickstarter so that when the sculpts are done, digitally we deliver it to you and you print them how you want them.
Yeah, because you could resize them. Are all the STLs going to be pre-supported?
They can be, but if people want them to be pre-supported, we can include a pre-supported feature in it, no problem. I'm a firm believer that you need to support them on your own because every resin's different, every printer is different, but we can pre-support them with our settings, and if you want to try them, you can go right ahead.
I prefer pre-supported bottles because it saves me so much time.
I understand. But yeah, you can resize them however you want. You can make collector's models of them and this and that. But the big thing is once this Kickstarter is done, the STL files will not be available. We're not going to turn around and sell these STL files on our website or nothing. So if you want the STL file of this miniature, this is how you have to get it.
Gotcha.
Because after that, it's straight up pure physical from us. That's it. And if this works the way we want it to, from now on, moving forward, when we do Kickstarters, that's how we'll do it. We'll do them as STLs, and then when the Kickstarter's over and once it's delivered, then it's physical from that point. We understand that there's going to be probably some sharing and stuff like that. We get it. Of course. It's the nature, of the beast type of thing. But we also know that there's also a lot of people out there that don't have resin or 3D.
Yeah, I buy them and I give them to my buddy to print off for me. I'm like, hey, I bought these STLs, print for me, please.
Next is your super chibi line that we were talking about, and you sent me some of these pictures, and some of these have already been done and completed, correct? Or all of these been done and completed?
Everything in this Kickstarter for Super Chibi has already been. We already sell physical models for them. People in the last few Kickstarters wanted STLs. So like I was saying, this Kickstarter was mainly to expand and jumpstart the Mana Path line, but we figured if we were going to do STLs for that, we might as well give them the option to get STLs for the Super Chibi as well. So we built a core set, which were miniatures we already have, and so whenever the Kickstarter is done, we can technically just deliver those right then and right there.
Yeah,
it's done, and the same principle of the mana path is once the Kickstarter is done and it's delivered, you won't find these STLs on our site unless we redo a miniature. So if we take one miniature, like we're looking at SETI here right now, if we take SETI and we redesign her and make another miniature of her, then we'll take the old version and make it an STL and put it on the site for you to get. But that's the only way that you'll be able to get an STL from our site. The new one will not be available unless, of course, you get it through the Kickstarter.
Gotcha. I mean, because I own some of your chibis. I'm going with some of these models because I wanted to talk about one of the things that's at the end of this, and because your super chibis are pretty popular, people come in and buy them like crazy anytime you go somewhere because they're cute.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're cute.
I don't own any models, but I just remedied that thing, so you probably got a ping on that while we were talking.
So the one thing that we want to talk to, and I'm going to show the pictures first before we talk about it, because I picked it up and got some of these, and I helped and worked on this, and it's Dual Fates. Here's the logo, and then you got the picture. But I want to go back to our faces because... Sorry, wrong button. Dual Fates is something that you and I had talked about something, and you had mentioned about a miniature game with chibis, and I was like, oh, cool. Give me your idea. And you sent me the files, and, we started testing it and started going, and I sent back some feedback and everything. So what is Dual Fates, and why is it fun and cool, and why should people play it?
Dual Fates, we wanted to create a game for all of our characters, and Dual Fates was the first one that we put out. Excuse me. Excuse me. Every time you've seen a chibi game, you've always seen chibis as a board game. Nothing wrong with that. Not knocking that. You've seen all different types: Super Dungeon Explorers, Arcadia Quest, you name it. They're all little type of adventure board games. We didn't want to do the same thing with our chibis. We wanted to do something different. And everybody that was part of Midknight Heroes, their background is we used to be massive skirmish game players. We played 40K, we played Infinity. I started off my hobby journey playing BattleTech, stuff like that. We've been big skirmish game players. So we figured, let's do something different. Let's make a skirmish game that's based upon chibis, where you get these little cute little things running around the table trying to kill each other. And we're like, that's cool. At the time that we just started designing the game, I was a huge player of a game called Overwatch. I loved it. I would play it tons and tons and tons. So I wanted to make a type of game that was kind of inspired by that. So that's and you've seen it, Gonzo. You've seen how they're broken down into special abilities and all sorts of stuff. So we took the idea and then we started designing Dual Fates, and it took us about 2.5 years to design it, and it went through massive amounts of iterations, and it ultimately turned out to be what it is right now. It's a skirmish game that's played on a 2x2 board, so it's really small. It's not like on a 4x6 or anything like that. And you start off with what we call summoning points. You get 8 total summoning points that you can build your army. You can build it from any miniature across all of our lines. And in Super Chibi, you've got Super Chibi Seed, Super Chibi Sector 7, Super Chibi Quest, and then we got a couple other ones that we're going to probably be making here in the next few years. But you can build your army however you want across all of them, or you can play factions and play them just from specific, realms. And because the story is basically you are a summoner and you are dueling your fate versus another summoner, and you summon your heroes or villains from across the multiverse to fight. That's the gist of it. So we put it down, and like I said, it was on a 2x2 board. And one of the reasons why it was on a 2x2 board, we didn't want it to feel like it took 1 or 2 rounds, or heck, even 3 rounds, just to get into the fight. So we wanted the fight to start from round 1, and that's it. That's what we're doing with quadrants. And in each quadrant, you have what's called a pillar of fate. And then you have a pillar of fate in the middle. And the object of the game is to control these pillars of fate, and you get a point at the end of the round that you control. But the pillars that you control is generated randomly, because you have 2 6-sided dice, which we call this is your fate. You roll it at the beginning of each round, and that determines which towers you have to control. For example, Gonzo, if you have the pillar 2 and 3 on your side of the table, and I have 4 and 5 on mine, and I roll a 2 and a 5, well, that means I got to get the one on my side, and I also got to go over and get the one on your side. But in the following round, I roll completely different, and I got to flip flop. And so you're constantly always moving, doing stuff, determining your strategies, trying to counteract who you're fighting. You can only have 5 summoning points worth of models on the table, or in the vortex, as we call it, the play area, at one time. But you can build an 8-point army. So as your units die, you can bring new units in to help balance and counteract what your opposing player is, or your opposing summoner that you're fighting is doing. So you may initially put your first 5 down with one idea in mind, but then as the game is going on, you realize, holy crap, I need something else, and you have to pull it from your other 3 that you have in the other 3 points. And not every character, though, is just 1 point. We have some characters like Grog, who rides a warg. He costs 2. So he's a little bit more expensive. So that means you have less models on the table, but he's more powerful.
Yeah. I know at Warfare Weekend, people were buying these up like crazy, and we had people playing it and doing little matches, pickup matches at the game, and they were talking about it, and they were having fun with the models and, play them and everything. And I know that you wanted to have this come out even more, which you planning on doing a little bit bigger at Warfare Weekend, which you can't spoil what you're going to do because you're still working on it. But you're also doing something special for Warfare Weekend, and we don't have it completed yet, but you're going to be designing a special miniature for Warfare Weekend. And we're going to wait to hold off on that, but there is a special Warfare Weekend miniature coming out that we've been working on, and I know that that's going to be a big hit, and people are going to, dig it. But is there rules for this model? Are there rules for? Is this model going to have rules for the Dual Fates?
Yes, it's going to have rules for Dual Fates, and that's something that me and you are going to work out, because we're going to work out the power sets, and then we will work out the numbers of how it works. But yes, that unit will be able to be played in Dual Fates.
Awesome.
Captain Mizzy's son. John, you said that you just made an order. What'd you order?
The wargs. I mean, shock. I like Goblin Wolf Rider. Wolf Rider fucking... I'd looked at it multiple times before because it was sponsored forever. I just never pulled the trigger. But since I did my taxes today, I know exactly how much money I have. And I'm like, I will take all of them since there was a pack right there with all of them. So fucking A.
Yeah, that's what Captain Mizzy has.
You will not believe how much. Yeah, you would not believe how popular those wargs are. And I say this, they were literally just something we built together on the fly, because the first character that we made was Grog, and he was riding his warg Timber, and the intent was that was it. We weren't going to make any more. It was just we were going to have a section of riders, and Grog was an orc warg, and that was it. Well, then we started going to conventions and stuff like that, and everybody's like, do you have one that doesn't have a rider on it? I'm like, no, but we can make one. So we made one. Then they wanted another one. They wanted another one with a different pose. And so they all came out, and there's all different poses. And we were just like, okay. And the next thing you know, everybody is buying them like mad.
I like wolves.
Well, we started getting 40K players purchasing them and converting their Space Wolves to ride them. That's
extra awesome, because Space Wolves should ride chibi wards. That is the way forward. Like, I love Goblin Wolf Riders for forever. Like, every time GW goes and remakes new Goblin Wolf Riders, I'm like, fuck, there goes my wallet again. I don't even play these goddamn games, but I need some. They had the Warhammer Underworlds with the Wolf Riders. They're over there on my extra table, already assembled, because they're awesome. It's my thing.
We're going to have more. We have ideas. We want to put dwarves on rams. We want to get in Sector 7, which is our more modern world. We want to get guys riding, crotch rockets. And we want to, in our Super CBC, we actually want to get some like tanks or something in there.
So I'll digress for a second. Again, if anyone watching the chat, I am slightly inebriated. In the end of one of the Text Talks videos about the Charger, He's running it back to the rental place, and behind him is an Irby with tanks as roller skates. Like, it is the funniest thing, and it seems right up your sort of alley for chibi type thing. Some mech
Oh, yeah.
using other tanks as roller skates is great. I love all that stuff.
Yeah. Now, my
Well,
favorite one of all
Go
the
ahead.
things is what's his name? The Dragon.
Oh, Dragon's
Oh, yes.
The Modrar.
I look
Yeah,
at him
Modrar.
twice because I'm like, holy shit, he's like the only one that is a different price. And honestly, let's just say this for the record. Your prices are really good.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, this thing's an 80 millimeter model. It's huge. I mean, and it's only like what, $45?
Yeah,
Yes.
$45. I mean, like, that's great. Like, and I look at him like, I'll say for the record, one of my problems with Privateer Press, and I don't mean to dunk on them all the time, is that they're still charging normal model price, if you will, for what they're ostensibly 3D printing.
Mhm.
And your prices are, I look at like, these are all reasonable prices. These are like what I'd expect from professionally printed 3D miniatures. It's great.
Yeah, and we can put them at that price because we're not having to pay for spin casting, we're not having to pay for molds, we're not having to do anything. We
Absolutely.
just get the sculpt, boom, and we can put them out like that. So we have a couple price points, and our plan for now for the foreseeable future is to stay at those price points. Like Modrar, he's a big dude. And normally you would see them in other companies. He'd probably be a 70 something dollar model. Us, we're like 45 is a perfect price range for us.
Yeah, that's a great.
And
I mean,
also
it's great.
you also have Arsenal. Arsenal, we have two $45 models. You have Arsenal in there that is a giant seed tank, and
Yeah.
he's freaking massive.
Oh, yeah,
And
he's huge.
apparently people are intimidated by him. So I'm like, okay. Because every time people see him, they go, "Oh my God, that thing is awesome." But I'm scared. I'm like, why? Just get an airbrush. Go.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be scared of models. Just come talk to people. People forget that the miniature painters are the most willing to share all the knowledge. They will help you. It's great. But no, I like the
Yeah.
models. I like the price point, and that's a big thing of me nowadays. I mean, I'm professionally, I'm at a point where I can afford more expensive stuff, but I love it when stuff is priced well. BattleTech, you guys. Like, I play Marvel Crisis Protocol quite a bit, and those models are getting a little there, but they're still okay. But like, GW, like, whew, whew.
We've got other dragons planned, and we wanted to do something really with. Okay, Modrar, if you look at him, he's a dragon, but he's different than all the other dragons that you see out there. I love Reaper. Reaper's an awesome company, but you see their dragons, they're more on the realistic side. They're huge, they're big, they're freaking awesome. Well, when we did our dragon for Super Chibi, we wanted to have a chibi-esque feel, but we also wanted to put some seriousness into them. So we came up with, we're going to make them, they could walk, primarily they can walk. They're bipedal, dragons, but they needed to be a little bit thick, like they could actually hold a chibi and they could munch on them, and you could see that, they really do munch on these guys. And that's
They
what we
remind
made.
me a little bit of like a Palladium fantasy role playing game. Their dragons were always depicted more as like bipedal, but would move faster on four legs, but could walk around on two legs. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then when we go to the dragons, when we get to the Manapath side, they're going to be more of the traditional type of dragons. Like my two favorite dragon movies of all time is Ring of Fire and Dragon Slayer. So those type of dragons helped make me design our dragon that is a stretch goal in the Kickstarter. He's one of the bottom stretch goals. His name is Yegdra, and his design is very much in that scale.
Yeah, I mean, your stuff is very reasonably priced, and it's not. It is chibied, so people will get into it and everything. But I mean, at $10 for a chibi model. Yeah, you're not going to argue that
No.
at all. Not at all. $15, $20, and even your big ones are 45 or so. Nobody's going to argue that at all.
No.
Not one bit. I did notice, and you do print on demand. I just noticed that. I didn't know that.
We do.
I
Yes, we
did
do.
not.
It's not a service that most people know about, but we do it for people because when our printers are working, we can print pretty much anything that you want. We can do resin. Our How do I say our printers are working? Our resin printers there's nothing wrong with them, but with FDMs, you know that every now and then a catastrophe can happen.
Oh yeah.
And when that happens, it takes us a little bit to get the parts in to fix it. But if they're working on the FDM side, we got you covered.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's
'cause there's
super
plenty.
cool. I look forward to getting them and seeing what they're like. Looking for something different to paint. I've been painting the same stuff for so long. I mean, I know I say that, Marvel models are great because they're different each time, but I've been painting just Marvel models and BattleTech for so long. I want to paint something different.
So what is
Well, when you
the
paint chibis, you can. It's different.
Yes, it is.
so where are you going to be next? When are you going to be out somewhere?
The next convention that we're going to be at is ReaperCon. We're looking for 3 primary cons that we go to a year, and currently those cons are ReaperCon, Warfare Weekend, and then we're trying to find the third one. We've gone to a couple cons this year trying to test them out. Nothing has really stuck. Although we do have a convention that wants to work with us to help us build their tabletop gaming side, so we don't know if we're going to continue there. But our next big con that we're going to is ReaperCon. It's what we call our home con.
Which is Reaper's a great miniature con. I mean, beyond belief.
Absolutely.
It's like it's not the miniature gamer con, it's the miniatures con.
We eventually one day want to go to Adepticon, and I did talk to the gentleman who run Adepticon to try to get put on the list, but haven't heard back from them. One day we'll head there. We'll get there.
All right.
I will say I know some people who know some people. So if you keep getting, I mean, I don't want to say they're giving you, the brush off, but like if you need a little extra push, let me know. I'll put some people on it.
Yeah,
they're busy. That's a huge con.
Oh yeah,
I completely understand it. And you've got people wanting to get in there nonstop. So I completely and totally 100% understand it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, like I was talking to Gonzo at Warfare, if you get in, it's one of those things that you need to keep going. So we got to get to a spot where we can keep doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in this hobby for as long as I have been and seeing Adepticon go from ostensibly just a 40K thing to what it is great.
Oh yeah.
Especially the heart, though, all those guys and all those volunteers put into it is great.
So
we had a blast at ReaperCon this year, and we had an unbelievable. First of all, I want to say thank you, Gonzo, for letting us come to Warfare Weekend, because we had an absolute blast. We enjoyed it. We met so many cool people there, and as soon as that con was over, we were like, "Yeah, we're coming back," because we just enjoyed the crap out of it.
So if I can get one of my mods in the channel to link to Midknight Heroes, I would appreciate that. Pay attention to their Facebook page, their web page. The Kickstarter will be starting up on Tuesday the 7th. And
Tuesday the 7th.
Jesus, Captain Izzy's so fast.
And
she's on delay and still got it before me.
One of the interesting notes about, because we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, and
Brian, you're breaking up, by the way. If you get
Instagram, but video to help the kid into. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's my internet. Continue. I'll shut up later because it's my kids are probably playing video games now.
Yeah, I mean you're on all the social medias, but as soon as it goes live, of course, we'll share it on our Facebook page. We'll share it on our personal pages, so everybody can see it. I'll definitely be purchasing it because I mean I always like to support people, and it's going to be a reasonably priced one. And I know since it's just an STL, it's that you're not going to be waiting a year and a half, 2 years to get your product.
Fair.
So let's go ahead and get over
Well,
to...
I want to give a little bit of secret or a surprise that people they don't know about the Kickstarter is if we get far enough into stretch goals, we're actually going to be launching a new line, a second line, a brand new line in there, which is called Midnight Nights. It's a very risque version of some of our characters that are not chibi.
Gotcha. The more of an adult version.
Wow, Banion, really? Really? You have one Kickstarter that fails and you're salty.
So let's go into the media section. This section right here is where we talk about stuff that we've either watched, read, listened to, or whatever. And Brian, your video is a little messed up. We can't see, but we can definitely hear you. Just so you know, we have a rating scale. We have 2 rating scales to be exact. We have one rating scale, which is from Casablanca, which is considered the greatest movie of all time, to Cats, which is considered the worst movie of all time.
No, take out the considered. It is the worst movie of all time.
Okay. So when you rate something, you can rate it from Casablanca to Cats. Or we have our most prominent rating system is, did you ever watch the movie Ice Pirates? Maybe not.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, and there's a creature called the space. You got there's a creature called the space herpes, and so we rate things by how many space herpes it should not have. The fewer the space herpes, the better the movie. So Casablanca, Casablanca would be a 0 space herpes, while Cats would be 5 space herpes. 6. Usually 1 to 5 is what we go to. But
spoiler, I did not like that movie.
So I'll go first because I think I have like 10 to go over today. Not really, but
I have multiple, not even counting the fact that one of them is saving until Kathy is back because we both watched it.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to talk about one, and it was a mockumentary, best way to put it. It was on Netflix. It's called Kunk on Earth. And it is about a lady that goes to all these places on the planet and talks about, the history and all this other stuff. And she gets people that are experts in their fields and asks them some of the stupidest fucking questions ever. And I'm going to go with this one. And it's like she talks to this expert on Greek history. And she's like, I'm going to propose this question for you. The Greeks, they either perfected or created it. And I want you to choose which one. And she goes through like certain things like reading, writing, and then she comes up with anal bleaching, created or perfected. And the historian is looking at her like, the hell?
That's fair.
And you can tell that some of these historians or people that are experts in their fields are like completely did not know they were going to get pranked or punked. And like, she's like, the Bible comes all this. You mean the Bible? No, it's pronounced Bibble. Are you man-explaining me? And so I will tell you, this show was hilarious. The stupidest crap is done. The stupidest stuff is said. And it's just pure hilarious. And eventually you can tell that some of the people are just finally, they crack up and they start laughing because they finally understand what's going on. I will recommend this. If you need a good laugh and just some good, stupid fun, just watch this. It's on Netflix. I think it's only like 6 or 8 episodes, something like that. And it's pretty funny. It is kind of some British humor, so, you got to be into that type stuff. But I highly recommend it. I laughed my ass off pretty good on a couple of things that she was saying and asking these people. Because their faces were the best. Because this one guy, she asked a question, and you can tell he's looking over at, like, one of his colleagues or like the producer or a director, and he's like, the fuck? That type of look. So I highly recommend it.
Playing poker is what you're telling me.
Yeah. So I recommend it. I give it like a 0.5 to a 1 because, there's just some stuff you're expecting it, and some stuff does get played out. But it is pretty funny. So, Brian, this is how we do it. I give it 1 to 0 space herpes. What do you have to rate for us today?
Can you hear me first off? Because my internet is going nuts.
Yes.
Okay. So my son had me spend quality time with him. We went to go see a movie called Cocaine Bear. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but I wanted to spend time with my son. So we go in there, and this movie is directed by Elizabeth Banks. So
Yep.
just so you know the type of humor that you're and what you're going to get from this movie. Okay. So we go in, and sure enough, like all typical Elizabeth Banks movies, it kind of starts off a little bit slow. But once the bear eats the cocaine, oh my gosh, it's just pure ridiculous content, and it's funny as hell. I mean, there's nothing like seeing, some freaking naturists looking around taking pictures of the bear, and they're like, oh, look, it's a black bear, blah, 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 this and that. And the bear's going freaking nuts. It's trying to rub itself, beat up a tree, and blah, 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 this and that. And then all of a sudden, the bear sees them, and it squares up like a boxer. It's about ready to beat their asses down.
I've heard described as what could have been just a simple slasher movie, but they put so much more into it.
Yes. I mean, this bear literally squares up and is just like, let's go. And me and my son just were like, what the? And it was just crap like that throughout the entire movie. And it was a blood fest. There was gore. You name it, but it was so funny is all I could say. It was just the plot was stupid, even though it was based on apparently a real life event.
Mm-hmm.
The plot was stupid, but the way everything went, I'm just like, are they going to have a cocaine bear too? Because if so, I will probably go watch it.
Cocaine bear too.
Because it was mindless fun.
Like, all you need from a movie is for it to know where it is.
So much stuff.
Know what it is, and just not just
Yeah.
like, I'm going all in on what it is. I love that.
That's what this movie was. It knew it was a movie about a bear on cocaine. It knew that, and it did stupid. I mean, the bear was snorting cocaine. Is all I could say. For that alone, just being how stupid and entertaining was, I give it like 2.5, 3. That was just, it was so much fun.
So 2.5, 3.
If you're
the fewer the better.
Oh, the fewer the better. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
You don't want herpes.
So then it'd be along the lines of, it was like a 1, 1.5, because it was just so stupid. It was fun.
Gotcha.
It was pure out fun. But you have to know that going in, that it's a movie about a bear on cocaine. I mean, if you get in that mindset, then you'll be fine. Yeah. You get in that mindset, you'll be fine. It's just a bear on cocaine.
John, what do you got?
Well, I actually have multiple again, like I said. I'm actually going to start with my rant, which does not include a rating, because I'm going to talk a little about Mandalorian since season 3 came out. First episode. I enjoyed it. Not going to give it a rating, not going to spoil anything. But, man, the fucking internet needs to get the fuck over itself.
I watched episode 1 too, so I'm with you.
Say, like, well, Andor was so good and realistic, I can't watch Mandalorian anymore. Well, dude, here's a fucking hint. Maybe you don't actually fucking like Star Wars. Maybe you should find something serious to watch. I hear The Last of Us is great. Go watch that and fuck right off with your Star Wars talk, because you don't like Star Wars then. Because The Mandalorian is pure Star Wars. It is.
And nowadays, nobody leaves anything to your imagination. They want everything explained, and it has to fit perfectly. Just go and be entertained.
Exactly. Someone complained that it didn't have date stamps or stamps of where they were. It doesn't fucking matter. It's space opera. You know when they'll settle on the time frame? When they fucking have to. Until then, it doesn't fucking matter. Here's the thing about storytelling. You can watch any movie from the 80s. Do I know when Highlander happens? No, it doesn't fucking matter. I see what's available on the screen. I get an idea of what date range it's from, and it doesn't matter beyond that.
Yeah, I watched it too, and I had a good time with it. I thought it was fun. Yeah. It was building the story. You're getting to know everything that's going on, and you're like, fine, this is good.
Everything up, and I'm like, pleased. I was very pleased. I enjoyed everything about it. I love Carl Weathers. Love that he's so in on his role.
Yep.
It's great. And the other thing I heard, someone was upset that, I don't think Mando's that good of a pilot. And this is kind of weird coming out of nowhere. I'm like, motherfucker, he jumped in the Razor's Quest with Grogu, spewing up cookies, being all blue vomit and shit, murdering TIE fighters. When was he not a good pilot?
Yeah, people there's way too much expectation to be perfect
No,
on
it's
everything that happens, and it's getting
Can't
ridiculous.
you can't please everybody. Yeah, you can't please
It's-
everybody.
it's people who aren't willing to take it as what it is. You have to step back, and I say this a lot. Your most true viewing of a movie is the second viewing, because the first viewing you come in with expectations, and sometimes it meets expectations, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes on the second viewing, wasn't what I expected the first time, but I enjoy it now the second time more, not expecting what I expected. A lot of movies like that where they change the game a little bit. But just having these weird things where they're like, my memory of this series is perfect, and like, no, dude, go rewatch it and you'll see. Like, stop.
Yep.
Like, and for Christ's sakes, don't get upset when someone jumps into your fucking Twitter conversation on some piece of media because you posted on fucking Twitter. It's fucking public. Then fucking get over it when my drunk ass jumps on and starts fucking taking you to task. It's my amusement some days. But anyways,
Yeah.
Mando. I love Mando. It's
Yeah.
great.
I thought it was great
Carl
too.
Weathers. Pedro Pascal is still great. I mean, Grogu's reaction to things are great. I am very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm fine. I didn't have any issues. Won't give a rating until it's completed.
Yeah,
but I'm enjoying it still.
I love
be honest,
the
I
weekly
haven't seen it
series.
yet.
Yeah, well, you get plenty of time,
Oh yeah.
you know. But yeah, I love the weekly series as well because it gets me set up a time frame, gets me in a schedule, and lets me look forward to something every week, which is helpful.
Yep.
Gonzo, numero dos.
My Dad, the Bounty Hunter. So
Oh, you watched that?
it was on Netflix, and so I was like,
I
okay.
saw a preview.
It was like 8 episodes, and I'm like, okay, 30-minute episodes. I can, watch this while I'm eating breakfast, stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good kids, enjoyable, fun show. Good, and I say family show, but I mean, it was a good animated family, cartoon. Characters were fine. Characters weren't an issue. They were just, there. But I mean, is it going to break boundaries or whatever? Not really. But is it something that, is better than 90% of the shit on TV now? Yeah.
Is it better than the Fast and the Furious cartoon they put out?
Yes.
Good.
That's not hard.
No, it's really not.
No, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it would be a good show for people to watch. Younger kids, they could watch it and not be a problem. It gets
But
my
Fast and Furious, is the show cooler than a Pontiac Pharaoh in space?
yes.
No. The Fast and Furious cartoon is not better than a Pontiac Pharaoh in space.
Well,
But
that's how me and my son right now rate movies, because we watch the Fast and Furious and they put a Pontiac Fiero in space. He's a car guy, so we say, was that cooler than a Pontiac Fiero in space?
oh my god,
But
Fast 9, yeah.
but I watched it all the way through. It was good. It sets it up for season 2. Whether it gets or not, we don't know. I mean, the way Netflix goes nowadays, you don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Netflix is fucking savage.
Yeah, if it doesn't make a billion hits in one day, it's like done.
You're not as good as the best thing from the other competitors. You're gone.
Yeah, I mean, I give it like a 2. It was fine. It was not bad. It's geared towards the younger crowd, but it wasn't bad. It had some good chuckles and good voice acting. So it wasn't bad at all.
You need good family friendly stuff like that. You can't all be fucking super serious dark shit. I have a rant about that coming up at some point.
So other than that, Brian, what do you got? You got something else you want to talk about?
Well, can we talk? If it's a movie I've already watched and I watched it again.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, then last week I sat down with my daughter and I rewatched for like probably the 25th time Godzilla vs. Kong. God, I freaking love that movie. I love Godzilla just in general, but that movie, it's so awesome. And every time I see that the big giant ape gets his ass kicked by a lizard, I am so happy. I mean, I just get giddy. I'm like, yes, the ape lost to a radioactive T-Rex. Fuck yeah! So, and my son's all like, I'm Team Kong, and I'm like, look, he just got his ass beat. Shut up. So
Well, I love within
I
that movie
watched.
because it's not just Godzilla wins. Godzilla wins some, Kong wins some. At the end, the Kong realizes, because Kong is technically smarter, they're like, "Yeah, I can't fight anymore. You can be king of the monsters. It's fucking fine."
Yeah,
I,
and I love to
I,
see when Godzilla just tries to get him to submit. He does it, and Godzilla just like, fuck this, I'm done, whatever, bye. I've already beat
yep.
your ass.
And then when the two of them fight Mechagodzilla, fucking A, when they finally team up together, that was so much fun. Like,
Oh,
I
I
still think
know.
it's the third best of the new movies because I think King of the Monsters is better and I think Kong Skull Island is better, but it's still really good and enjoyable. Like, people
I
take
agree.
that as like a diss. It's not a diss. Those are all really fun movies. In fact, the
Hmm.
Godzilla, the most recent one, Godzilla, I enjoyed it, but it's clearly the worst of those movies. But it's still like,
Yeah,
John, rewatch Godzilla. Yeah, sure, let's rewatch Godzilla.
I would agree with you. It's the worst of the three, but it's needed to set everything up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I agree. I agree with you. King of the Monsters is better than Godzilla versus Kong, but there's just something as a movie, it's better. But there's just something about Godzilla versus Kong that just makes my I don't have much hair, but the hair on the back of my head stand up. I'm just like, fuck yes! I
They
love
went
it.
batshit crazy in all the right ways on it. The
Hmm.
fight in the ocean, just like every scene, like they went crazy, but they did it in a way that they're not making fun of the movie at any point, and they fucking sell it. I loved
Oh
it.
yeah, that and I can't wait till the sequel comes out. Although
Yeah,
I don't know who they're fighting. There's reports it's going to be Gigan, which will be interesting. The Apple TV series that's take place in the Titan universe. I don't subscribe to Apple TV, but as soon as it's released, I sure as hell will.
and I will
Um,
because I was gonna get it anyways for what's that show, Gonzo? Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso,
So now you
March
gave me two
15th.
reasons. Done.
March
but
15th.
I'm all and I've probably watched that show 25 times. Or that movie. I'll probably watch it another, just like I've watched the original Transformers movie, the 1986, 100 times. That'll probably be a movie that at some point in time I'll be able to just replay it in my head. I love that
Uh,
movie.
the only thing I was upset about is that it came out during COVID, so I couldn't watch it in the theater. That's the only part that upset me.
I went and watched it in the theater. It came out that Wednesday before I went. And I told everybody at work, because I knew it came out on HBO Max. I'm like, you tell me anything, I'm going to kill you. I will murder you. And it was a big thing because they know how big of a Godzilla fan I am. It was a big thing all week. They were sending me screenshots of them watching it on HBO Max, just little screenshots here and there. But it was like the credits, the opening scene, and I'm like, you want to die, don't you? Do you want to die? And then I went the Saturday to the theater during COVID. I did not care. I went to the theater. I watched it. I came back the following Monday, and it was literally my whole department because I'm working IT. They're like, "Did you watch it?" And I was like, "The damn lizard won! Yes, I did."
Yeah,
And so like,
my old
okay.
buddy, not Brochette Dave, didn't want to go to the theater, and I didn't want to go alone during COVID, so we I ended up watching it on HBO Max with my for my old podcast, Painting with Mouth John, with Mouth John. We watched and reviewed it. It was enjoyable. I actually set up I have the Transformer what the fuck is Optimus Primal. So I had him set
Mhm.
up versus Grimlock as the backdrop because it's the closest I could get with what I had, and I felt like it was close enough.
That's awesome. Well, if you want a rating on that, since I've already watched it, you know how much I don't know if you could go lower than a 1, so I'm giving it a
0.
You
1.
can go to a 0.
I'm 0. It's 0 for me. I know I'm biased, but it's a 0 for me.
That's the point
I
of the
love
scale.
that
It's all violent.
movie.
I
Yeah.
like to remind people that all movies and TV is art, and art is almost entirely subjective.
Yep.
Something that
Agreed.
hits for the average population, like Ready Player One, Gonzo gives a 5 because he's terrible, but it's subjective.
That's
No,
funny.
Gonzo, you're never going to live that down.
Oh, I know. So,
Hey,
John,
the
what's
coolest
your
part of
next
that-
one?
The coolest part of that movie was when you got to see the Gundam. Continue.
The ending was the
Yeah.
best part. Everything else I hated. But on to something else.
My next one is I watched rewatched The One, Jet Li,
Oh, man.
Statham, Delroy Lindo. It does
That was a
not
pretty
hold
good
up.
movie.
It,
No,
like
probably doesn't.
special effects do not hold up. Story doesn't really hold up. Oof. It's a little rough through the beginning. Now, you stay for 2 fights towards the end, and those two fights are great.
Mm-hmm.
But after you get the Jet Li versus Jet Li and the Jet Li versus everyone fights, that's all. It's a clip movie now. You're gonna watch it for clips. You're not gonna watch the whole thing. I got it for free on DVD from someone at work who was moving and like, do you want a DVD? Like, I'll take that DVD. Yes. Probably won't rewatch it for a bit. Doesn't really hold up. I'm gonna give it a 2.5, which I think is generous. It could go to a 2 if you really like it, but nothing holds up. Young Jason Statham has not gotten his acting chops yet. He's very rough. Delroy Lindo is great. Jet Li feels like he's the wrong person for this movie. Like, I think he was the right one, but he feels like the wrong one. He's not fully into it towards the end. It feels like through part of it, he's kind of not comfortable, but then he gets his comfort towards the end, and it gets much more enjoyable. So, I would, if you got things to do, maybe not so much rewatch, but if it's free, maybe you should rewatch it.
Got a question from Banyan Gonzo. Did you give your final rating on National Treasure? I did. I gave it the 2.5. It was okay. It did have a bit of CW-ish to it, but it was not bad.
Yeah.
My next one is We Have a Ghost, which is on Netflix also. And I would compare this movie to an old school Disney ghost hunting show. It very much has that Disney-esque feel.
It's got a good cast.
Oh yeah, the cast is great. I had no problem with the cast at all. There was nothing issue. But I mean, it reminded me of the old school Disney, live action ghost, movies or whatever. This could have easily been put on a Disney Channel. This was another good family friendly type show. More of a little upper, age type stuff because it does deal with death and stuff. It had some, yeah. It had some, a little bit of themes that were a little bit more, young A type things. But I mean, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, it gets above the 2.5, it gets about a, 1.5 to 2. But I mean, it really wasn't bad. I was really surprised. There are some funny scenes and some, some things going on, and special effects were good, and, characters were okay. But for the most part, didn't have a problem with it. It was enjoyable. Should you pass it up? If you got better things to watch, sure. But I mean, it's a decent show to spend the time.
It's on Netflix, means it's likely free if you have access to it.
Yep. So, other than that, Brian, you got anything else?
No, I'm just sitting here enjoying with you guys.
Okay, John, your next one.
I do have another one. One I'm going to recommend. It's on Amazon Prime for free. It's called Accident Man. It's starring Scott Adkins. And I very much enjoyed it. It is a little weird at points. You can tell it's trying to be that quirky humor, but in order to get the plot further along, it has to go a little bit dark and serious, which is a flaw I see with a lot of action movies nowadays. Is they try too hard to be super serious when the old school action movies didn't need to be that serious. They're like, fuck, it's a silly premise, but let's just go. But it's a more well-crafted one, because I'm watching another one right now called Falcon Rising, where shit just happens to get him from one point to another. Shit in this movie actually happens and makes sense. And it's a little weird. Some of the fight scenes are a little crazy, but when they get the standard fights with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White's in it, and you get some fun, good martial arts action in it, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. I mean, I'd probably give it only a 1.5 space herpes. Definitely worth watching. Not gonna be for everyone because some of the content's gonna put them off, but the actors carry it for the most part, and I enjoyed it. Like, they're making a sequel, and I'm gonna watch the sequel. It's one of those ones like Ambulance where my Twitter suggested it like as cool action stuff, and it did not disappoint. I was very pleased with how the action went in it. Scott Adkins is a good martial artist. Michael Jai White's a great martial artist. It has Ray Park in it. He's obviously a great martial artist, and all those scenes are super fun between them. The great fights, and then there's just some silly stuff in addition. But definitely worth a watch if you like that kind of martial arts. Good cast carrying it. Maybe not quite what it was expecting to be. I mean, obviously it's a direct-to-video movie, but of the direct-to-video movies, it is definitely in the top tier.
Cool. I wanted to talk about a few things that are happening. So Picard's going on. Episode 3 is out, but I've only seen 1 and 2.
I haven't seen that series yet.
I'll tell you, you can watch season 1, skip season 2, and go straight to season 3. And that's the best way to put it.
I just started Discovery. People were telling me not to watch Discovery, and I just started it, and so far I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I love Strange New Worlds.
Discovery is great science fiction, not quite as good Star Trek because of the content, except till season 2. Season 2, it just takes off.
Yeah.
Like, at no point do I disrespect it. It's just I judge Star Trek versus sci-fi differently because the themes of Star Trek should be different than the themes of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Example, Deep Space Nine. Great science fiction. Top tier science fiction. Bottom tier Star Wars or Star Trek. Because all the things they do are great sci-fi tropes, but they don't fit in the Star Trek universe so much.
Yeah.
That's just personal opinion.
But like I said, Picard, season 3, it's the final season. See, episode 1 and 2 been good. No gripes. Did want to talk about Discovery. Discovery's next season is the last season. So the next season it'll be over with. So that'll be done.
That's another one people are shitting on too much. I'm like, what is your problem?
Yeah. No, I enjoy it.
Like, it's been good. Like, again, like I said, if you don't like season 2 of Discovery and Strange New Worlds, if you don't like those two, you don't like Star Trek.
Yeah.
You might watch other things in Star Trek because it's sci-fi and you like it, but you don't like Star Trek for Star Trek. You like Star Trek for sci-fi, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I mean, Discovery, the next season is going to be the last season. At least they know it, so they're going to get to a finale type thing.
Yeah,
which would be good.
That's the best way to do it. Getting a chance to end on your own terms is great.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I tried to watch the Bad Batch, the new season of Bad Batch. I just can't get into it. I really do not care for these characters.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir on the Clone Wars stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, I've watched the Clone Wars, and I didn't mind the Clone Wars, but the Bad Batch, it's just boring to me.
Remember, that's the best thing about all this media now. It's not for everyone. It's okay if a Star Wars media comes out and you don't like it. It's all good. Watch the next thing. Xander Roy says he misses the political intrigue of Babylon 5. Hopefully the Babylon 5 reboot continues. Michael J. Straczynski is working with the CW to do a reimagining reboot of it. So far, theoretically, it's still going, but we'll see.
Yep.
I'm interested to see that because he has, he says he's a lot better writer than he is. The effects can be a lot better. Now, why I love the effects of Babylon 5, I understand they're dated as fuck, but it's never was about the effects so much. They were great for the time for TV.
Yep.
Help them get it in under budget. Interested to see where they go with that. Jose Gonzo, I told you and Kathy that my next watch through, I have 2 movies queued up that someone at work loaned me, which are The Maltese Falcon and Inception. No, I haven't seen Inception. No, don't judge me. I don't care. But then after that, I have to watch the John Wick's Ready for John Wick Day, the 24th.
John Wick. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Then after that, Amazon Prime has all of the Rockies and Creed movies, obviously up to 2, available. And I think that's going to be my next watch because I know I've seen all the Rocky movies. I think I've seen all of them aside from 4 all the way through in one sitting. And I've never seen the Creed movies. So I think watching all of those in a short period.
Creed movies are good. Very surprisingly, they're good.
Honestly, most of the, if I understand, like everyone loves Rocky 1, 2, and 3. And then I like 4 for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Balboa, we'll see. But so, I mean, I think overall that's going to be a high quality series.
Creed is, in my opinion, very well done. I haven't seen the third one yet, but first 2
were good.
They were better than I thought they would be.
Yeah,
I've seen some clips and they look good, so I'm interested but I want to watch the whole thing through since I know I've seen all of Rocky, but I don't think I've seen all of Rocky in one sitting. It came out a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky 4 was the one that came out when I was sort of cognizant, and I watched the whole thing of that, and I think it's got some real great merits to it. Obviously flawed at some points, but looking forward to seeing all that together there. I think that's the best way to watch a series nowadays is get boom, boom, boom. By the time I get to it, Creed to be able to rent, and if the first 2 are good enough like they're supposed to be, I'll just pay money and rent the third one and watch it Amazon Prime. Or if it's still in theater, maybe I'll go see it in the theater. Who knows? Oh. Plus, I forgot to mention Casablanca in the theater as a Phasma event. It'll be a Wednesday, so if you're interested in that, You can see one of the best movies ever.
Also, I
Godzilla
believe
Tokyo.
I also believe that Return of the King will be back in the theaters.
That'll be main theaters. I don't think that's a Fathom event. I know
No.
Brian mentioned that was it Godzilla Tokyo SOS later this month?
Oh yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then
March
what was the one I
22nd.
mentioned? I mentioned another one. There's another Fathom event later this month that I'm looking at. Let me find it real quick. It was another classic movie coming back out to theaters for a short time. Yeah, Tokyo SOS is coming out. My Neighbor Totoro coming back out again. March 22nd for Tokyo SOS. Let me just find it here. There was something else I saw that like really just piqued my interest, but I don't always remember. Where was the next one? Maybe it was Tokyo SOS. I think it was actually Godzilla Tokyo SOS was the other one I was looking at. But yeah, that and My Neighbor Totoro both great to watch. I don't know if you've seen My Neighbor Totoro in the theater, but if you haven't, it'd be a good time. So, and honestly, you guys should check that. Big Lebowski's 25th anniversary is coming out, so you're going to see that. Flashdance 40th anniversary. Those are all really cool things to see in the theater.
Yep. Guys, that's the show.
That is a show.
Sweet.
It is the show, guys. We will be sending you off to the Pyro Club, and you can check them out. They're playing some D&D, and you can hang out with them. Make sure you give them a follow and a like.
If we're a couple minutes late, they'll be on break.
They might be, because it is our luck. Brian, we want to thank you for coming out and talking about Midnight Heroes and all your stuff, and we'll look forward to your Kickstarter coming on Tuesday. Guys, make sure you check it out. Go follow him on Facebook, and go check out the Kickstarter and help him make his day.
And Instagram and Twitter.
And
he's on both those as well.
Yep. Guys, please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. If you see something, say something. Reach out if you need anything. John and I are always willing to help you out and chill with you and do things. Please take care of yourself and take care of each other. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I guess I'm Brian.
Good night. Here we go. We're going to send you off. We're raiding the Pyro Club. Get ready. Make sure you hit that. We got 1, 2, 4, 7, 45. 122 people rating. This is going to be awesome.